Darth Plagueis and his relationship to the Jedi is very unique, and very different than that of Palpatine. While obviously Plagueis still believes that the Sith are superior beings to the Jedi, he seems to have more of a healthy respect, and in some ways, fear that Palpatine seems to lack. Palpatine's arrogance does indeed blind him at moments, believing that he's completely untouchable by any Jedi, a sentiment that his master did not share, holding a healthy fear for the Jedi Qui-Gon Jinn and his potential, especially pairing Qui-Gon Jinn with the Chosen One. As in Legends, Darth Plagueis is still actually alive for a lot of the Phantom Menace, and even gets a brief glimpse at the young Skywalker. However, I would like to explore briefly the period of time before this, an era where Qui-Gon Jinn was still partnered with Dooku, and an era where the dynamic of the Jedi Order was far different than what we encounter in the prequel trilogy. The era of Dooku, and an era where Palpatine was not the sole Sith Master, but rather apprenticed to Plagueis. Plagueis clearly saw something very special in Palpatine. Initially, he did not want a Sith apprentice, believing that he could fulfill the goals of the Sith on his own without the use of an apprentice or a partner. However, after experiencing the raw dark side ability that a young Palpatine had, Plagueis found it hard to resist teaching the young boy the great mysteries of the Sith, taking him on as an apprentice not out of necessity or out of some promise to the ancient order, but simply because he was impressed with the massive dark side affinity that the young boy had. This made Palpatine unspeakably arrogant, more arrogant than he was even before he became a Sith, believing that he was above any of the Jedi, even Yoda. However, Plagueis stated many times to Palpatine that there was a Jedi Master far more dangerous to the plan of the Sith and the ultimate goal of the Sith than Grandmaster Yoda, and that there was a Jedi present at the Order that was a better lightsaber duelist than Palpatine, and potentially an even greater threat if he ever became Grand Master of the Order, because of his ability to free think. This Jedi Master's name was Dooku. Plagueis encountered Dooku several times during both of their lives. Every single time, Dooku was a faithful Jedi Master, and every time the two of them encountered one another, Plagueis would grow a more healthy fear and respect for the aged Jedi. Unlike many Jedi, Dooku did not staunchly adhere to the code, and the failures that the Jedi Order would ultimately hold on to their last day. Failures that would lead to their downfall, such as aligning themselves with the Republic that did not share the same loyalty with the Jedi, a Republic that Dooku despised, and Plagueis feared the fact that Dooku was intelligent enough to realize the Republic's flaws. Not to mention that Dooku's ability to use a lightsaber was famous not only among the Jedi, but also was famous enough to have reached the ears of Plagueis himself. Plagueis truly believed that Dooku was the greatest lightsaber duelist of that time, better than Yoda, better than the young prodigy Mace Windu, even stating to Palpatine himself, his young apprentice, that he believed that Dooku was in fact the superior lightsaber duelist to himself. During this era, Palpatine was still very much a learner, and Dooku a Jedi Master, and it would not be out of the realm of possibility at all to say that during this time period, Dooku may have even outskilled Palpatine in terms of his affinity with the Force. Obviously, the tables would shift as Dooku grew older, and Palpatine more sophisticated and learned in dark side knowledge. At the time though, Plagueis believed that Dooku was the only legitimate threat to the reign of the Sith. Not only was he more free thinking, and didn't think and operate like any of the other Jedi around him, but his skills with the blade were legendary. Again, so much so that Plagueis even told Palpatine, who was starting to believe that he was the greatest swordsman in the entire galaxy, that if he were to ever fight Dooku, Dooku would come out on top as the superior combatant. Again, this is massive praise coming from a Dark Lord of the Sith. It should be stated though that Plagueis, nor Palpatine's main objective was to become the greatest duelist that had ever lived. Rather, they more focused on the abilities and curses that the Force could grant them, with dueling very much an afterthought in their own more advanced Sith philosophy. Nonetheless, Plagueis was aware that Dooku was a user of Form 2 lightsaber combat, a thought that chilled him to his very core, as Form 2 represented that Dooku had not lost sight of the ancient enemy of the Sith, and the ancient ways of the Jedi, even if the more modern Jedi had forgotten their old ancient enemy. Dooku specialized in a form that excelled on one-on-one combat, a Jedi Master that at the time rivaled the force power of Yoda, and at the time, at least according to Darth Plagueis, was the superior duelist to Yoda. This is why the thought of Dooku ultimately becoming the Jedi Grand Master chilled him to his core. In many ways, the relationship and dynamic between Dooku and Plagueis is hugely compelling to me, as in the era before Palpatine's reign, it was very much Dooku that was the main adversary of the Sith, and the main Jedi that the Sith feared. This would later of course change to Yoda and then Obi-Wan Kenobi. I just find it interesting that if Yoda and Darth Sidious are the pure rivals of the period that we encounter in the prequel trilogy, it works perfectly for Plagueis and Dooku to be the rivals of the period prior to this, with again Dooku being the only Jedi that Darth Plagueis said could defeat Palpatine in one-on-one combat. But what are your thoughts on this? And what are your thoughts on Plagueis' high praise for Dooku? And what do you think a duel between Dooku and Palpatine would look like if both of them predominantly used the sword and didn't rely on their force abilities? As always, my friends, thank you guys so much for watching the channel. May the force be with you and have a great day.